actually.
Oh, good. You're not ready either. Great.
We'll
be here till 12 o'clock tomorrow, everyone.
Look, we love you guys so much. We're not putting on a 12-hour show. We're putting on a 14-hour show. Not because we have to.
How more was Expedition Everest?
Thank you, Pete.
How much have we made for the tots?
All right. This is the wrong show.
How many tater tots have we made
Pete's
today?
not even supposed to be here right now.
All right, let's go with this. We're going.
Okay.
You can't sit with us, Pete.
Why are we looking at a 12-year logo? Where's the
Stop trying to make
logo?
Everest happen. It's not going to happen.
Oh,
I don't know. Cameron's not ready. He's been sitting there literally for 12 hours, and he's not ready.
Yeah, let's put
Fig, you're the best.
I said guys. Did I say Cameron?
No, I was talking to Jason.
It's your birthday.
Friends,
Everybody
I
be
know
nice.
it's like
As you can
what?
see, everyone, we've been here quite a while. People are a little
You gave
frustrated.
me what I was supposed to be.
We're gonna be all right.
We love everybody.
Huh?
No, we don't love everybody. I don't love everybody. Don't get me wrong. Not everybody on
I
the
love
planet.
everybody.
There's some, you love every. You like Hitler?
Well, I meant I meant everybody in our WDWNT family.
Wait a minute.
All right.
Wait a minute. Do you know something that we don't about Hitler?
I don't
Is
like
he
him.
alive?
Wow.
All right. Nobody really does. Well, there's a few.
All right. So we're live on all kinds of social media platforms.
Hey, everybody.
Just so you guys know.
It's fine.
But
It's fine.
It's totally fine.
It's not a big deal. We're happy about it. This is your.
Yeah. That's the logo.
Thanks.
You should have been loaded in yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, so we're good. So yeah, very excited for Back to the Future, and our top 10 was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Patrick. You're absolutely
Look
right.
at that pretty
No problem.
mountain.
Now let's go to Ed and see how much we've raised. Ba 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 ba. Does anyone remember that?
Wrong show.
Can we start the segment?
We're all set. Whenever you give me the nod.
Oh yeah,
I wanted
sure.
the
We
logo.
thought we were.
Oh,
waiting
look,
for-
we have the logo. Oh, great. Good. It's only whatever time it is. No, wait. Start over. I was talking over it. Everybody be quiet.
Here we go.
There we go.
Is it loud enough? Will be now.
Time travel commencing in T-minus 10 seconds and counting.
It's once again time to go back in time as we head back to the future on the WDW News Today podcast. Let's set our time coordinates for this week's trip through Disney Parks history with Professor Tom Corliss.
It's time to go back.
Where, Tom? Where?
Somebody say the line.
Back where? I don't
Nope,
remember the
that's
line.
not it. No one knows.
Where,
the
Tom?
script.
Where?
Where, Tom?
Wait,
Where?
What a great celebration of 12 years today. Everybody's doing great.
Back
Thanks.
to the future.
Back to the future. That's right, Jessica. In order to understand where the Disney parks are heading in the future, we need to look back at past attractions, current favorites, to better understand everything. Joining me for this segment, Nathan Hartman.
Kungaloosh, everybody.
Cameron the boy.
Still here.
Jessica Figueroa's here. Stop it. Ashley Jasmer, I think, is here.
Jason, stop moving the mouse.
We're on the air. Could the two of you stop bickering? Patrick Hackett.
Jimmy Chungus.
And Ron Deanna.
I don't know, huh?
All right, we are
I'm not
celebrating.
here. Good. I'm going to bed.
Oh, Jason Diffendahl's here. I forgot because your face is.
Nope,
I
I'm
don't
going to bed.
see you. No. Jason Diffendahl's here. Yay.
Hey, howdy, hey.
Hey, everybody, Harold's here.
Norm.
Somewhere else.
Harold the Yeti, everyone.
If only I could be somewhere else right now.
Oh, me too.
Yep.
We should go somewhere.
Let's do it. Yep.
Let's
Tokyo.
celebrate 60 years. We're going to celebrate 60 years of the Matterhorn Bobsleds.
Yay!
Yeah, the first Disney mountain and Disney's first roller coaster. And much better than Expedition Everest, even still. Anyway, we're going to go back. We're going way back to 1956. And in 1956, there was a hill at Disneyland. It was called Holiday Hill. That's right, kids. Back then, you didn't need 14 acres of immersive themed environment where no Star Wars characters are alive anymore. You had a hill.
And we liked it.
It was a wooded hill that had been created to act as a border between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. And its name was derived from the fact that Walt Disney had wanted to create a holiday land, a place where seasonal entertainment could be provided. It was a 20-foot tall, high pile of soil constructed by the excavations that had been made to create the moat at Sleeping Beauty Castle. It would appear as if it had been there forever, as they had leveled the top and added benches and trees and hoped it would serve as a picnic area. Unfortunately, it became a bit of a lover's lane for the more adventurous park guests, and Walt didn't think that fitted the family-friendly image he was trying to promote. Sat atop of that mound with Disneyland construction chief Joe Fowler, Walt commented, "Why can't we make some snow and have a toboggan ride?" Joe balked at the idea. He couldn't see how snow could be kept in the Californian climate and the drainage problems that would ensue from constant thawing, but Walt wasn't a man to be put off of an idea. And from that day, the mound became Snow Hill. An employee reported that one afternoon he had seen Walt sitting on a bench staring into the distance in the direction of the hill. And the cast member said, "What are you looking at, Mr. Disney?" And he goes, "My mountain," responded Walt. New Wild Mouse-style roller coasters got the attention of Disneyland executives, who began to consider applying this emerging technology to the creation of a toboggan-themed coaster ride on an artificial mountain at the site. The structure was also intended to act as a decorative overlay to camouflage the center pylon of the Skyway. Back in Disneyland, the WED guys, later to become Imagineers, were still tinkering with the toboggan run idea, adapting the theme to a double-track Wild Mouse bobsled ride. Suggested names at the time were Mount Disneyland, Magic Mountain, which was later used by a rival park, Echo Mountain, and even Volterhorn.
Ooh, Volterhorn.
The Volterhorn.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. A Swiss chalet had already been created at the Disneyland park for the Skyway ride at the time, so it wasn't weird to have a Swiss Skyway ride going through a Swiss mountain, right? During 1958, Walt had spent a considerable amount of time in Zermatt during the filming of Third Man on the Mountain, and the story revolved around an inexperienced climber who wanted to conquer the Matterhorn. Walt would stand and stare at the mountain for minutes on end. It hadn't been conquered until 1865, with a terrible loss of lives in the process. This added to the mystique for Walt Disney, and a postcard was sent by Walt to the Imagineers back at Disneyland. It bore a picture of the Matterhorn, and on the reverse message it said, "Build this." So all he wrote was, "Build this." Yeah, I'm sure they're like, "Oh, he wants to build a mountain." All right.
That's what Tom's messages are to me. Like,
build.
I was gonna say, I love this so much.
That's usually the text Jason
Write
gets.
this.
Actually, build this. And then Jason forgets.
that's it. That's all I got.
No, I just ignore. I think I'm
Well, imagine if the Imagineers had ignored Walt Disney, Jason. What would we have? We'd have a Toy Story marionette
fired
mountain.
Imagineers.
Toy Story
Yeah,
marionette
that's true,
mountain.
too. Me and
Anyway.
the Imagineers will be on unemployment.
The attraction's official name would become Matterhorn Mountain. The project's art director, Vic Green, would lead the team, and initial designs for bobsleds were assigned to Bob Gurr. 2D drawings really didn't convey how the ride would look overall for its unique shape, so the three-dimensional models were created so it could be viewed from every perspective. Marty Sklar, former vice chairman, was to comment, quote, "The model answered a lot of the questions that architectural drawings simply couldn't answer." However, many of the Imagineers thought Walt was going too far with his idea. In fact, Harriet Burns commented, "Good grief, a Matterhorn in the middle of Disneyland." Everybody was thinking that there is a real Matterhorn, so why try and bring one to Disneyland? Walt had seen the mountain for real, but the Imagineers had to work from National Geographic photographs. Back then, they didn't send them to scope things. They just had to work on these photos. These days, of course, Imagineers would have visited Switzerland, and back then expenses didn't allow for such travel. And because Fred Jorger was tied up with another project, Harriet Burns was appointed to create the models. She built it rather like a birthday cake in layers. If any layer looked incorrect, then it could easily be removed and remodeled. And it was soon realized that Imagineers would be required to cram an awful lot of stuff into a huge irregular shape. And at one point, an ice rink was to be included at the base of the mountain. It also would require planter pockets for trees and bushes. It would have real waterfalls, and the Skyway ride would have to pass right through the middle. The Burns model met with Walt's approbation. It was just what he wanted. Harriet and Fred joined together to create a larger model, which would include every ridge and humpback of the Matterhorn. Harriet was to recall that it was like a crash course in Swiss history. They even ran model trains through the model to check clearances and sight lines. More importantly, it also included the interior structure that would hold up the entire construction. This would be the first in the major models that Imagineering would construct when developing new attractions. And today's Matterhorn bears an uncanny resemblance to Fred and Harriet's model. So that's how crazy construction was back then, kids. You built a model and then you tried to follow it.
Sorry to interrupt, but can I ask a quick question about the ice rink? Was it
Sure.
supposed to be inside the mountain or like surrounding the mountain?
No one seems to know.
Like, what was the plan for the ice rink? They
There's
don't
no
know.
art of the ice rink or anything. They just know that somebody said, hey, let's put
I was
an
just
ice rink.
curious.
I can't imagine it was in the mountain.
I couldn't either, but I just picture like a circular one going around the base of the mountain.
Maybe just like a little one
But
off
that
to the
doesn't-
side on one side. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway, now the whole thing had to be passed over to engineering. Oh boy. They would turn a model into an actual ride, and to do this they made a plaster cast of the model itself. This was then sliced like a loaf, and each slice was numbered. And that's how the mountain was built, as the slices were constructed to the larger scale that would create a 147-foot high mountain. Imagine that. Engineers from Switzerland, Brazil, Germany all worked to build Walt's vision, and the bobsleds were another matter completely, though. Disney wanted to create a thrill ride long before the term became popular, and thus no ordinary roller coaster would suffice. It would be a Disney first. Bob Gurr was to tell later that a bobsled vehicle in the newly devised tubular track team from Arrow Development Engineering would be brought in to work alongside Imagineers to create a new kind of ride system that would simulate the feel of a bobsled. The system they came up with would transform the roller coaster industry forever. It would consist of two separate rides that would interweave as they cascaded down and through the mountain. We have, at this point, we can start showing some, we have some construction art, maybe? Cycle through that. An aerial
Was this
tram.
one of the ones
No, go ahead.
that Walt had to send Roy away from to start construction? Like he had to wait till he was on vacation. I know there's a few things that Walt had to do that for.
Maybe that might be in here at some point. I see you're posting through those Epcot pictures. You'll get there. Keep going. An aerial tramway, of course, would run straight through the center of it. And Arrow's new idea for the tracks would be tubular steel. No, that's not construction. That's a finished ride, believe it or not. We'll get to that. Would be tubular steel. There we go. Look at that. Their idea for the ride would be tubular steel pipes rather than traditional flat rails that roller coasters ran on at that time. The bobsled cars would attach to the rails in 3 different places and hug the tubes to provide the stability and a smoother ride. The vehicles themselves would not have any motors, relying on gravity once pulled to the top of the ride, and air brakes for additional safety in various portions. This would allow better twists and turns in the circuit that the sleds would take, where dips and hairpin bends would be required. Matterhorn Bobsleds is considered to be the world's first ever steel roller coaster. So this is not only a Disney feat, this is a first in the world, first ever steel roller coaster, tubular steel, had never been done before, and now tubular steel coasters are the norm. Yeah.
That's wild.
And even still after this, wood was still common for quite a while. It wasn't
A long while.
It wasn't until like the 70s
Yeah.
that pretty much it was established, all right, we're going to do all steel from here on in.
Yeah.
It's pretty much till the inverted coasters started coming in, I think, is when they just really started switching over.
Yeah, because you really couldn't do it. You could do an inversion with wood. It wasn't safe, but or good, but yeah. But think about this project. Like a man-made mountain, number one, never been done before. A tubular steel roller coaster, never been done before. You're putting all of that together.
Yeah.
Like, how do you come up with this and figure out we're going to make this work?
Especially when you cut it like a cake.
Walt
When you
is
start.
That's
really,
mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have something else going through it.
Yeah, the Skyway in the middle. Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of things they had to design around, and to think it's done by hand with a model, like paper drawings didn't even help. They had to sit and make a model and then cut the model into pieces and figure out how to make those pieces into the real thing. It's kind of insane.
It all started because your boss sent you a postcard.
Yeah.
Walt really wanted to stop those kids from making out on that hill.
I'll show those kids. I'll show them. Oh man.
That's what this is really
Where's the
about.
hill go? Kids come back. Where are we gonna make out?
Where can we?
That's all right, Patty. You can sit in my lap on this ride. He really showed them.
Really yeah.
You can't make out, but you can sit in each other's lap. Anyway.
Oh Lord.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Uncle
This is the date. Matterhorn was the date ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Arrow Engineering also developed a system that would allow multiple cars to run safely on one track at the same time. This was also not a thing in 1959. This would be invaluable to moving large numbers of guests who wanted to experience the ride. Early in 1959, WED, or Imagineering, and Arrow were joined by American Bridge, the company who would erect the endoskeleton of the Matterhorn. It would be built from 2,175 individual steel girders after Snow Hill had been flattened to the ground. The mountain would hide the ugly Skyway towers, which carried guests in their carriages between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. And the King of Belgium asked why a mountain would have a hole in it. And Walt Disney responded, well, because it's a Swiss mountain. That's a great story.
Where's the worst joke of the
dad
night?
joke
Sam?
of all time.
Walt Disney does not get the worst joke of the night.
No, that is the best dad joke of all time.
Who's laughing?
Patrick just
That was
Patrick. Patrick is almost a father, so he's now getting these jokes for the very first time.
Oh wow! Patrick touched the flux capacitor and it blew up. Anyway, plywood covered the skeleton, and to this would be added plaster to create the faux rock face. Wooden shapes of all shapes and sizes, as you would imagine, being shapes. I don't know who wrote that. Wooden pieces of all shapes and sizes would be put together like some sort of 3D jigsaw puzzle. Hey, kids, remember Puzz 3D? Remember that thing? No? No one had those?
I'm pretty sure.
No.
No one
idea
had
what
those.
you're talking
There was even a
about.
Cinderella Castle one.
Nice.
They were
Wait,
three-dimensional
Yeah, they
puzzles.
still exist. Yeah.
Oh, I remember those now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I know
had
they
that
are.
pizza.
Was there a Death Star one? There was some Star Wars
Yeah.
ones. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a big Puzz 3D. Look it up, Cameron.
Big Puzz.
Big. Oh man, we stand.
Are we
Puzz
finally going
3D.
to sing happy birthday to Cameron at the end of
It's
the show?
not his birthday.
Happy birthday to
Happy birthday to.
We've already done
We're gonna have to
No
have
more
his bar mitzvah
ASMR.
next year. Then
What was that, Ron?
we're gonna have his bar mitzvah next year.
Bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Aww.
No,
Mazel tov.
you're a man now. You can run your own VMix. Anyway, the amount of lumber or timber used would have built 27 tract homes. Adding to that was 500 tons of steel and cement, and the modeling of the rock started at the top and worked its way downwards, and this would avoid dropping cement onto any created surfaces already. Caverns, slopes, and waterfalls were all sculpted, and an Alpine Pool for the plunge at the end of the ride would complete the construction. A special palette of character paints completed the illusion, with whites, blues, and grays used to enhance the European mountain sited in the California climate. The Matterhorn, when complete, stood 147 feet high, exactly 1/100th of the real thing at 14,700 feet. The total bill was $1.5 million, a real expense back in 1959, and 25% of the budget spent on the park when it opened. To add to that, the illusion and to create that wonderful forced perspective that is so beloved by Disney, plants and trees would be added, but would have to be scaled so that when seen from below, they appeared in scale to the height of the Matterhorn. Any full-grown trees would shatter the illusion. So Bill Evans was appointed this task, and he set out to determine where on the scale the tree line would be. He researched and estimated that 10,000 feet on the real mountain would equate to 1,000 feet on Disney's creation, in actuality from about 30 to 40 feet above the park's ground level. Casting the right trees would be just as important as casting actors for roles in a film. They would be part of the storytelling. California firs were out since they grew too fast, so the slower growing pinyon pines of Arizona were chosen. These would be planted into the plastered pockets created by the constructors. Lined with fir bark and appropriate soil, the trees would be nourished by special hydroponic irrigation systems. Walt now had his mountain, and like all Disney rides, it had to be tested. Now, normally, weighted sacks are used, but eventually human volunteers are required. Bob Gurr was duly appointed by Roger Broggie, quote, "You designed the track, now you can be the first to ride it." Yes. Walt was soon to join the volunteer list along with Joe Fowler, and often they would be accompanied by the weighted sacks. The track hadn't been totally completed, and near it to its end, the bobsleds would plow into bales of straw. This may have cushioned the occupants, but it was hardly practical. Yeah. So imagine that. You've never been on this thing before. You're going to ride it into a bale of hay. A steel roller coaster into a bale of hay. Seems safe. Yeah. Anyway, this is where the Alpine Pool would come in. The idea had been borrowed from a park ride scene in London. The bobsleds would hit the glacial pool with a splash and thus slow down to the end of the ride, and this would become one of the most photographed scenes, in fact, in all of Disneyland. One of three major new Tomorrowland attractions to open that year, the Matterhorn debuted on June 14th, 1959. Now we're going to take a trip back to... Cameron looks like he's going to fall asleep.
He's had it.
Sweet
Cameron,
child.
I'll know what'll cheer you up.
What do I need to do right now?
Can we take a trip back to 1959, the opening TV special?
Yeah.
We're going to see the dedication of the Matterhorn at Disneyland. Enjoy. Oh, man. This is a long video. Let me just fast forward.
What should I fast forward?
It's towards the end. Keep going. No, wait. There, about there.
Matterhorn, Disneyland's man-made mountain. Every conformation and outline of the famous Matterhorn in Switzerland has been duplicated to scale. On this day, it'll be dedicated and officially opened. In fact, crowds have already gathered at the mountain's base for the start of the festivities. As the monorail completes its run, the engineer signals to another horn blower for the ceremonies to begin.
There are several ways to get up a mountain and down again. One of the most exciting routes is about to be officially opened here at the Swiss Chalet loading station. And here's a bobsled starting its run.
I love that this aired on Disney Channel.
Yeah, Disney Channel used to show all this stuff.
Disney on the move.
This just looks smoother in 1959. They're moving much slower for sure.
It's like one of the first ever POV videos.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that would have been
And you
very
know they
difficult.
just strapped a television camera to a bobsled and just hoped it worked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wasn't it about how in 1959 they were posting ride videos? Because now they won't even show you anything on the TV special. Back then they used to show you like the whole attraction.
Yeah, they did Small World as well during.
Yeah. He walked you through the whole ride.
Yeah.
On the other side of the Matterhorn, members of the Sierra Mountain Climbing Club scale the sheer face for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And now you can do this at your local gym.
Yeah, but it's probably a lot safer.
It's me climbing the ladder.
This is the most frightening thing I've ever seen.
It's me climbing the ladder at WDWNT.
Little image of the House of the Future there.
The American and Swiss flags are planted on the pinnacle as a tribute to this massive new addition to Disneyland.
There's Richard Nixon with Walt Disney World.
Getting down a mountain like the Matterhorn is another problem.
These are cast members, ladies and gentlemen.
No, these are professional climbers.
Yeah, no, I mean...
And it's only recommended for experts.
$7 an hour.
The weirdest West Side Story I've ever seen.
They're not going to rappel off the mountain.
They already rappelled off the mountain. Are you behind, Patrick?
It's so great.
I was watching the Facebook feed.
Wow, Patrick's really...
I didn't realize it wasn't on the VMix.
You know you're on the show, right?
It's okay, they're just dancing. Meanwhile, now Harrison Ford just misses his cue.
We're really excited to be here.
Punches.
Hey, it's a nice skating rink.
There it is.
We're good.
Star of John Harris's Ice Capade.
What Disney just looking at him?
Is that a flower pot on their head?
It's possible.
And now the added musical number with the added element of a potted plant.
We had a festival in my hometown called Swiss Days, and it looked exactly like this. Leader
It
hose
looks like an extra from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Buddy Rich on drums.
This is us when a new spring roll debuts. Here's your West
What
Side
is
Story.
happening
There we go.
now?
Matterhorn is the
I think
place
it's
to
like
be.
the Americans versus the Swiss. I think that's what's happening.
Is it just that faded, or are they in black and white?
Food Blog has showed up.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, those are the other bloggers.
We're already done. It's already posted.
That kinetic energy with the Skyway in the background is just so awesome.
Yeah.
It's true.
Why the dancing?
And now the Americans dancing with the Swiss. Showing their harmony. They've all come together for the opening of a fake mountain.
It's a recreation of, our famous Peace Summit.
As a closing salute to this
Look at these people
Disneyland,
dangerously light fireworks now. There we go.
creating a spectacular fantasy in the sky over the 5 lands of this magic kingdom, Disneyland.
There it is from Galaxy's Edge.
Celebration.
But imagine this. I want to put this in perspective. The submarine voyage, which was never been done before. No one else but militaries had, or naval fleets, had submarines. So Disneyland had its own submarine fleet. They also had the first operating monorail in the Western Hemisphere. And opened the world's first tubular steel roller coaster in the same day.
Wow.
That's pretty insane.
Well, it shows kind of how an achievement was that other parks stole the submarine voyage, but not the Matterhorn idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cameron. That was delightful. That to me is insane. that 3 things that had never been done before. All right.
Little commercial. For
Like 3 things that had never been done before, and they just decided to do them all at once. Like, obviously, we're just covering the history of the Matterhorn, but that on its own is so impressive. So to throw in the monorail and the submarine voyage, I think that's just insane. It's just really insane. Anyway, back to the Matterhorn. So the ride itself consists of 2 separate tracks that run roughly parallel to each other for most of the ride. We actually have, there's an e-ticket magazine piece that shows you the layout of the two tracks. We'll pull that up. They intertwine and eventually deviate from each other at the loading areas, and they are called the Fantasyland Track and the Tomorrowland Track. And they're named, of course, for the side of the mountain that their associated loading line begins in, at least back in that time. No, that's Florida. You're looking at the wrong one. You want to get out of those Epcot images. Keep going.
What does the Matterhorn have to do with Epcot, Tom?
Oh, you'll find out soon enough.
I found out twice already.
Well, this is the last time we're doing this, so... Nope, keep going. All right, almost. Actually, go back, so we don't have to go back to them later. Go back, yeah, let's show the... No, one more. There you go. Let's show these first. So you know, like, the Matterhorn today, you weave through a lot of ice caverns and things. In 1959, you did not. In 1959, this is what the inside of the Matterhorn looked like. Wow. So there are the holes where the Skyway went. But there's a lot of exposed steel and stuff. So they really didn't know how to do caverns and stuff then. It was kind of just a big open mountain inside. They didn't really know what to do.
Yeah, it's where it looks like Space Mountain with the lights on, with a mountain encrusted.
Just did, yeah, right. It wasn't close, but you could see, like, if you look on the wall there, like, it kind of looks like rock, but it's definitely like a steel girder.
Yeah,
there. Like,
that
you can
X.
see the shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, what they could do at the time. But let's keep going. You'll have that track layout coming up in a few images, I think. I want to show people that illustration. There it is. So to give an idea, if it didn't seem complicated enough to you, look at that. Whoa.
Holy cow.
So that was done by hand. They figured that out. No computers at the time. They had to figure out how to, number 1, how to put it in a mountain, and number 2, how to get those 2 tracks to do that.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, this wasn't the first e-ticket, was it?
No.
Okay.
No, did the e-ticket start in 59? I forget. E-ticket
I
might have started.
they weren't there in 55.
No, the D was the highest. So, but Jungle Cruise moved to E when, I guess these were the first 3. These 3 were e-tickets, so probably. This was probably the first day. So the vehicles originally, you've seen them a couple times at this point. Vehicles originally held up to 4 passengers each, seated single file. So you sat in each other's laps. That's why it became the date ride, folks. So you know, you brought a pretty girl to Disneyland. You're like, hey, you want to ride the Matterhorn? Oh, I think you have to sit in front of me, dear. That was, yep, there you go. Not so innocent, 1959, are we? It was
Scared.
Yes. There was 1 lift hill on each track, and the bobsleds would ascend parallel to each other at the start of the ride, climbing past walls featuring snow-like special effects. And at the top of the lift hill would constitute the highest point of the ride itself, though the mountain continues upward for another couple of stories. The rest of the ride is an unpowered coast through the Matterhorn's many caverns and passageways. And at the end of the attraction, guests hear the now famous "Remain seated, please," permanece sentados por favor, safety announcement, and one of the many recordings from former voice of Disneyland, Jack Wagner. The recording was changed in 2005 to say "Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened," but they left the Spanish dialogue with Jack anyway. But it was also, it's still Jack Wagner. It was borrowed from the ride's breakdown spiel. So they made sure, even when they had to update it, they said, well, we can't remove Jack Wagner. Unlike the Orlando International Airport, who removed Jack Wagner from the monorail. Jerks. No one else bothered by that? That's always bothered me that they removed him.
Yeah.
That was in like the last
sad.
decade, right? Yeah. Anyway. This recording also introduces the Tomorrowland segment of Remember Dreams Come True fireworks. That's how well known it was. Safety announcement and a fireworks show. Safety announcement was also featured on the title track of the 1995 No Doubt album Tragic Kingdom, and the line was spoken by Barbie in the film Toy Story 2. It's pretty famous. Yes. For many years, a basketball half court existed inside the structure above the coaster near the top of the... Don't tell me you didn't know this. This is like Disney Fan 101.
I just
It's like
didn't know
your
it was like
day
real.
one
I thought it was
Disney
like
fan.
fake.
Yep. It was near the top of the mountain where the mountain climbers could play between climbs. Because if there's one thing the Swiss like, it's basketball.
I actually read something in the last couple weeks that was there because it was to classify the building under some sort of zoning code as a sports structure.
Oh,
It
that
wouldn't
makes sense.
shock me.
I've heard that before too. Like, if not, like at the time, I guess when it was built in Anaheim, you could only go X amount of feet unless you were a sports structure or something like that.
Huh. Maybe.
I've definitely heard it before.
We'll never know. As
The
internal
basketball court's
access...
gone, huh?
Supposedly it's not there now? Someone said it was removed?
No, I thought you said there was.
What'd I say?
So it used to be. You said
I
it
thought you
was
said it
there.
was.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Yeah.
there anymore. I think it's gone now.
Is it
I think the last refurb or two
Huh.
refurbs ago, something happened.
not?
As internal access to the mountain... here's the reasoning. As internal access to the mountain was locked for safety reasons, the court was accessible only to climbers. The court was relocated slightly during the installation of the Tinkerbell flight equipment prior to the 50th anniversary. The hoop and playing area... oh, no, they're still there, apparently. It's still there. There's also a cast member break room inside the mountain at the base. That must be pretty fun. Yeah, so when it opened in 1959, the Matterhorn claimed the title of the tallest man-made structure in Orange County, California. It lost the title when the high-rise office building began to appear in Orange County in the 60s and 70s. Yes. Some other fun anecdotes about the Matterhorn. What land is the Matterhorn in? Well, that has changed over time at Disneyland. From 1965 through 1976, Disneyland guests received 4-inch by 6-inch Disneyland guide booklets sponsored by INA, the insurance company of North America. And through 1970, the booklets listed the Matterhorn Bobsleds under Tomorrowland. By 1972, the Matterhorn Bobsleds attraction listing had moved to Fantasyland, where it remains to... Why is it...
Are we running ads?
Why is the WDW News Tonight logo on? Thank you.
He's tired. Wrong button.
I don't think he even knows.
Bless him.
Cameron, you saw it happen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Remember to watch WDW News Tonight on Thursdays. Anyway. Remains in Fantasyland on those guide maps to this day. During the 1960s, though, there seemed to be some official uncertainty exactly where the Matterhorn belonged. For 1961, the back cover of the glossy souvenir book, Walt Disney's Guide to Disneyland, listed the Matterhorn under Fantasyland. However, inside the book, the ride was pictured in the Tomorrowland section.
Oh my god.
Some of the confusion might be because the Matterhorn straddles the boundary of Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. The ride has always had two tracks, commonly called the Tomorrowland side and the Fantasyland side, as we said before. And if you think about it, the ride really doesn't belong in the world of tomorrow or really in the land of classic stories of childhood, really, at least not at that time. Right from the inception of the Matterhorn, there had been plans to have a Yeti-type monster, maybe to make it more of a Fantasyland-type attraction. These creatures originate in the tales and myths of Tibet, so why would one appear in a Swiss mountain, one might ask? Well, one translation for Yeti is abominable snowman, and it was the snow part that seemed to stick in Imagineers' minds. This is why, when installed, the Disney Yeti would be white. The animatronic one, which would eventually be installed in Florida's Expedition Everest, would be more in keeping with the images found in Tibet. Harriet Burns had created a mock-up for such a monster to be used opening day, but there wasn't enough in the budget to develop the real thing. The ride was popular enough without interior dressings as well, and so Walt pulled the plug on that idea. In 1964-65, things had been sidetracked for the World's Fair, for which Lincoln and It's a Small World and such would be developed. However, many years later, they finally got around to it. In 1977, plans were afoot to plus the ride. Space Mountain had opened and thus taken some of the pressure off of the Matterhorn, so operational modifications were needed to continue to meet the public demand. So 50 tandem vehicles would take over from the original single cars that only took 4 guests at a time. They added capacity, and the steel track was reinforced to take the extra weight created by the double cars and spinning wheels installed in the track itself helped to speed up the vehicle's movements. Remember when I said it looked slower back then? because it was. The lift tunnel was enclosed to keep in the cold, quote-unquote, feel to the ride, and when the vehicles reached the top, a pair of angry red eyes would greet guests for their first encounter with the mountain snow monster. And Cameron, we have some of the promotional images and stuff leading up to the addition of the Yeti in California. Alpine winds howled as the bobsled sped through the caverns and fog banks, and 3 monsters would be created, one for the A track and one for the B track, and a third that would be seen by both. Blaine Gibson, who had sculpted pirates and presidents, would create the fanged mouth, roaring face. So here it is. There is the Disneyland line from the opening.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what's gotten into the Matterhorn? Those red eyes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. There's also some more. I think we have the inside. There's the inside of the article. There's more than snow inside the Matterhorn. I think we also have some really cool art that captures the time of this. Although we can look at some of this other stuff while we're passing through that we didn't look at. This captures 1970s.
Wow.
Disneyland.
Wow.
Space Mountain had just opened, and Harold had just joined the Matterhorn. And here it is, an ad for both of Disneyland's newest adventures at the time. Experience the chilling new Matterhorn. But don't forget, we just opened Space Mountain too. So you could bobsled through space, or you could bobsled through the Swiss Alps. It's up to you. I love that art. It's really fantastic.
Looks like Space Ghost.
It does look a bit like Space Ghost. No, we're getting into the future now. It's later. There's construction. Look at that. Look, the scary eyes. Let's just leave that up the rest of the show. You just stare at that. Yeah. Anyway, various people were invited to record the roar, but the eventual honor would fall to Dennis Meckham, and his roar proved the loudest of all. On windy days, the howl can be heard right across Disneyland. CMs would eventually come to refer to the Yeti as Harold. Why has never been explained, but Harold. The new and improved ride reopened in 1978. That's the story of the Matterhorn at Disneyland. But now, so the Matterhorn opens at Disneyland in the 1950s and establishes itself as this legendary classic attraction. I'm going to borrow a computer here for a moment. Establishes itself as this legendary Disney attraction. And so, as you probably know, most legendary Disney attractions would eventually make their way to Walt Disney World. And so it would be natural to think, well, at some point in the history of Walt Disney World, someone would have wanted to add the Matterhorn. Actually, the truth is, several times they wanted to add the Matterhorn. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to pull up a little article we posted a long time ago. And we're going to take you guys on a little journey. A very exciting journey. We're going to journey to Epcot Center in the 1980s. And we're going to take a look at the proposed Switzerland Pavilion for Epcot Center. This is the proposal book that was made up by those working on the project to get the thing approved by those involved. And we're going to take a journey through this book. Book I was lucky enough to page through back in my time at Theme Park Connection. A really wonderful thing. Yeah. So, anyway. So a little backstory. This is a 1989 proposal for the Switzerland Pavilion at Epcot Center. This was the final version that was presented to Walt Disney Company management, international dignitaries, and corporate sponsors who were involved in the project. It is filled with every last detail on what would have been World Showcase's Switzerland Pavilion and first and only roller coaster, at least at that time. It's funny how things have changed even since we did this piece now. Epcot is getting its first roller coaster in Guardians of the Galaxy. So, yeah, let's take a look through here, shall we? You got that first page. It says Walt Disney World Design and Engineering. How about that? And there's Switzerland, in case you don't know what Switzerland is. Show it to you. And the next page is kind of fun. Oh, I think you skipped. They're out of order. You should have, like, Walt Disney World map. A map of Epcot. Nope. There we go. So the next page, in case you don't know where Florida is, we got a map of Florida for you, where Disney World is. And then we show you where the Epcot Center is. And then we're even going to show you where the Switzerland Pavilion was going to be. So funny enough, that's between Italy and Germany. And the rumor is that that's finally going to become a pavilion very soon. That's going to be Brazil, if all of that comes to fruition. So located between Germany and Italy and Epcot's World Showcase, Switzerland Pavilion skyline would be dominated by the Matterhorn, standing at 192 feet tall and 200 feet in diameter. The mountain would contain a bobsled ride with a track layout essentially identical to Disneyland's Space Mountain attraction, but themed like the Matterhorn. Being quite different from the Florida version, Space Mountain at Disneyland features a different style of track and side-by-side seating in ride vehicles. So imagine this is a weird cross between the Matterhorn and Space Mountain at Disneyland, but with a larger budget and far more extensive show scenes than either attraction. So while there would be indoor and outdoor scenes on the Epcot version, the ride would be completely contained inside of the mountain structure. So none of this version you're going to see is outdoors like the Disneyland version. There are simulated outdoor scenes.
Wow.
Just look at how beautiful it is, though. Like how.
Yeah.
You see the water feature?
Yep. No, this is
now we have a skyway going through it.
Oh man. This is such a great pavilion idea. And you'll see, we'll talk a little bit about what else would have been in the pavilion. This is great. It really would have bridged Germany and Italy probably a lot better than Brazil. Brazil kind of feels out of place, but this is a good in-between, I think, between Germany and Italy. It would have fit in really well between the two. Before reaching the mountain, guests would be greeted by a quaint rural Swiss village hidden behind some evergreen trees, and the village would be home to 4 shops, a clock and music shop, Doc on Dar's Den of Antiquities. I'm joking. Patrick's behind. A wood carving and craft shop, a candy and gourmet food store, and a clothing accessories boutique. Several house facades would hide the 230-seat restaurant upstairs and an extended queue for the Matterhorn downstairs, as well as a tourism center and VIP lounge were also part of the plans. Here you can see, and Cameron's actually showing it right now, here are the facades and the layouts of the stores on one side of the village. Yeah, so I mean, some of this does, while it's a nice bridge between Germany and Italy, some of this overlaps with the Germany shop. So there's a the clock shop. There's a clock shop in Germany. Yeah, so a little bit of crossover.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I guess maybe they're different. I'm sure there's some differences between Swiss and German clocks.
I just want pão de queijo.
You just want what?
I just want Brazilian cheese bread.
Wow. That's all you kids care about. You don't even want an attraction. Yeah, so you see the, if we keep scrolling. We'll look inside the clock music box shop. Pretty cute. We keep going. We see the inside of the candy and gourmet shop. That looks like something I could build later.
Yeah.
Maybe a little similar to the caramel.
Wow.
Right? Good ideas never die. Remember, kids.
No one's ever really gone.
No one's ever really gone. There you go. Then there's the wood carving and craft shop. And as well, the clothing and accessories shop. And then move to the other side of the village. You see some more art for the interiors there. On the other side of the village, we have the restaurant. And the restaurant would be located across the street, dominating the upper level of each facade that you see there. Keep going. There you go. There it is. No, go up a little. Those are the facades. There you go. Nope.
It's stuck.
No, up, Chuck, up!
That's it, right?
Nope. There it is. Those facades. You got it. Go back to the slideshow.
I can't. They're all out of order.
Oh, great. Great.
Here you go. I
Not
guess
that far out of order.
that's it, right?
That's inside the restaurant. Yeah, you're fine. Go.
Yeah, these are.
No,
all...
they're in some order. Keep going. Go. Nope. Nope. No, you're out of order.
I mean, we all agree they're in some order.
Go back. Yeah, that's fine. So that's the facade. And then if you go below that, we'll see the layout of the restaurant. If you go below that, there we go. There's the layout of the restaurant. The layout was pretty ingenious, as almost every seat had a beautiful view of the promenade, the village, or the Matterhorn. So it was all built around in a semicircle around the kitchen area. Make sure everybody had some view they would want. Here we see concept art of what one of the dining rooms would have looked like, with the entire seating area positioned by windows. And now, folks, no, keep going. There's the inside. People can't see this. All right, now for the main event. Let's look at the Matterhorn, shall we? There it is. There's the ride that would have been. There's the Matterhorn. Two separate, very different plans were created for the ride. Mind you, even in this book, they were still undecided on two versions of the ride, which we will call Storyline A and Storyline B. What the interior of the ride would have been was still undecided at this point, so both plans were still viable. So let's begin with Storyline A. In Storyline A, we begin across the World Showcase Lagoon. Switzerland's national landmark, the Matterhorn, can be seen rising 192 feet high across the water. And then guests would cross a footbridge over an ice-cold stream and enter a rural Swiss village. There's your Swiss village. Next slide. While on a woodland stroll, guests stumble upon a secret Swiss Olympic bobsled training camp and join in as competitors.
That's great.
As you do.
As you do.
This... I know we've talked about this before, but this is insanity. Why did this need to be the storyline of this attraction?
Why not?
Oh. So anyway, next slide. A shepherd's mountainside hut serves as the secret entrance for a cavern in the foothills. It's a fake house. So you enter this fake house. Go ahead, Ron.
I'm not saying anybody in particular, but this was designed during the heyday of cocaine, let's not forget.
Well, where did the snow come from?
Well, we all know that, Winter Olympic sports are best done in secret for training. So you have to have secret teams.
Obviously.
How do you think the Swiss are so good?
Yeah, exactly.
Just think how great this would have laid over with Frozen.
They had like this huge movie come out back then.
All right, The next slide. The Foothill Cavern leads guests to steeper mountain. Super chilled water drinking fountains would quench guests' thirst.
I'm down.
Super chilled
Quench.
drinking
Quench, please.
I would like to be quenched.
Like, that would have been nice, though.
The thirst is real.
Meanwhile, now we don't even have shade. They were talking about super chilled water.
Such a dumb...
Look how packed that queue is, though.
That's what they thought Galaxy's Edge was going to look like. Oh. Next slide.
Those are going to be the fountains at a Cosmic Rays.
So guests would view bobsleds, snow skis, and mountain climbing equipment in alcoves as they would walk through the Foothill Caverns. In the next slide, we see guests leave the cavern along an avalanche-protected walkway. Looks safe. It's a queue at SeaWorld, I believe.
It is.
A trail carved through steep snowbanks would lead guests into a secret command center hidden in a rustic mountain chalet. And here's where things get insane. Look at that. It's Smugglers Run.
This is the beginning of Spy Who Loved Me, if I remember correctly.
That's where Luke and Han and Leia made out.
Yeah.
Right there. Guests pass through a high-tech security area before entering the command center.
I just love that it's top security. Not top secret, not high security. Top security.
Top men.
Top men.
Top Swiss men.
So the idea here wasn't that the Olympic training place was secret. It's that that was the front for the spies? Or do you have secret Olympic training going on and spies?
I don't know.
I assume front. But
I don't know.
Maybe both.
I want this to be
I think it's both.
I want this to be a Get Smart attraction so bad. It just feels like a Get Smart attraction.
Would you believe you've got 5 more minutes in line?
Does.
Okay.
Maxwell
10.
Smart. It appears the Swiss are building a secret weapon in the Swiss Alps.
Let's take over something that is just as strange as any of this. What exactly is Swiss cuisine?
Isn't it
Jeez.
like IKEA?
Oh,
That's Swedish.
Yeah, that's Swedish, yeah.
Oops.
Oh shoot.
I think it's just French and German for 3 times the cost.
Wow.
There's sauerkraut, and it's very German oriented. But the sauerkraut's big, brats are big. I'm trying to think what else. Wiener Schnitzel.
Fondue. It's fondue. This is
Schnitzel.
I was
Lots of
gonna say,
right
schnitzel.
at the height of fondue.
I said cheese.
Yeah.
we could have had a
Yeah.
melting pot.
Fondue restaurant.
Next slide.
This I can just see all the cast members that work this ride in turtlenecks. That's what I can see.
And with their name
And
tags.
dating life in the middle of
Yeah.
summer.
Swiss Arabic name tags. Next up, guests would go inside the command center, the load and unload area. You'd find high-tech equipment and updates on competitors on the track.
Wait, I'm still confused. So this is
Hold on.
Secret Spy Olympics.
You would see all these live updates of other competitors on the track.
So it is just so this is like pod racing, like underground pod racing. Like
Yeah, this is Galaxy's Edge.
it's like secret.
I mean, the costumes. Look at the next slide. The cast costumes are very
Like, were
future world
80s
at that
Olympics
time.
that intense?
Cold War, yeah.
Have you never seen Cool
Oh,
Runnings?
that's
Yeah.
Valid.
But it's
So the
Switzerland.
neutral country.
Well, if
is
you don't
the most
spend
top-
you don't spend your money on military, you gotta spend it somewhere. Right?
Secret athletic bases.
Yeah. As competitors depart, there's your load and your load area there. Guests are getting in, helped by these weird Swiss police officers.
You know, you were losing me with Swiss Chalet fronts. I was a little sleepy, but now we're
Now
talking.
we're interested.
I'm very
Same.
involved now.
Suddenly Nathan is awake again.
Yeah, Swiss spy.
So what would happen is then you'd begin your journey. Next slide. You begin your journey, and what we always wanted to do on Test Track would happen. You would accidentally go down track course B. It finally would happen.
Not B.
You'd go down the wrong one. The journey of no return. Uh-oh.
Laid out,
Yeah.
but
So the ride begins with this lift hill. Keep in mind you're indoors. This is all indoors. This is a fake scene. So special covered lifts would take the bobsleds to more difficult runs. The first provides a panoramic view of distant mountains and glaciers. So I don't know if this would have been screens or painted backdrops.
seems a little early for screens.
89? Yeah, probably painted backdrops, I guess. Despite appearing to be outdoor scenes, again, all this is inside. Take a look at this crazy second lift hill. So this is the second lift hill on Space Mountain at Disneyland, essentially, the one with the tunnel.
Oh.
A high-tech tunnel shows mountain views to the left and a maintenance bay and final course assignments to the right. What is happening?
This is Test
Is
Track.
that woman making bread? What is going on?
I feel like you know that like
It looks like Steve Irwin.
Well, do you know that like Pixar theory where they try to connect everything is supposed to make everything feel the same? I feel like they did this with Disney coasters.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is that missing piece that connects all of these different coasters that we haven't even thought up yet. It's
But this
insane.
looks like Space Mountain,
It
basically.
totally does.
Yeah.
It's like Test Track and Space Mountain had a
Yeah.
Swiss baby. It's
But
so
then-
weird.
Then you'd go back outside,
Quote unquote. in
quote unquote,
quotes.
outside, where a paramedic tries to get back into his hut as a St. Bernard looks on from inside. So here's this very serious, like, Swiss training facility. Now we're taking a break for this weird comedy scene where this guy can't get back in and the dog's laughing at him.
But could you imagine that animatronic?
Oh, we would love him. And as Bob Chapek closed this ride for an overlay, we all would have worried about the fate of this poor
That would've
St.
been-
Bernard.
Marshmallow. It would have been marshmallow.
Don't worry,
with
guys.
a-
The
Yeah.
archives would have saved the dog and nothing else. Don't worry, folks. They're real good at that.
Definitely.
They take the things that fit back with them on the airplane only. Jeffrey's carry-on's real full. So anyway, the next scene, we're back at Space Mountain again, where the final lift would also function as a high-tech starting gate.
3, 5, and 7.
Yep. Here's gate. Yeah, look, there's a 5 and a 7 there. No 2, though. We were so close, guys. So then you would start, and as you start, an avalanche checker pulls herself out of the way as the bobsled zips by. So this poor lady almost got rear-ended by you.
I like how there's all these comical people that have no idea that they're almost at death's door because they're about to witness this secret Stranger Things-esque Swiss building.
If I was Swiss, I wouldn't approve this because it just looks like there's a bunch of dumb Swiss people like all over the place.
Yeah, just in the way.
Like this guy's locked out, this lady almost gets hit. The next scene, these guys have crashed. I can't see what the text bubble above his head says. I can't imagine.
Help something.
It's something. It's like help us or something.
Let's take every idea we couldn't use for World of Motion and just put it in betwixt.
So here, an overturned sled blocks the run, and a competitor fractally waves to stop oncoming sleds. And this is when you veer through a small crack in the wall. And it makes scraping noise. More test track, by the way. Mm-hmm. The scraping against the sides with the spark effects. So at this point, you would have seen faint glimpses of stalactites and stalagmites, confirming guest suspicion that they are in the mountain and off course. At this point, scroll to the next. Go to the next one, please. I'll use that. And then go to the next one after that.
Whoops.
We're now in the one more up. We're now in the Fortress of Solitude, everybody.
Yeah.
Huge ice cavern emits light through a small opening which refracts off of towering ice crystals, providing a colorful light show.
Frozen fractals all around.
Yeah. This comes back in a way in Journey to the Center of the Earth. They did this for the opening scene.
I need to get Tokyo in there somehow.
There's a lot of things that got
It's true, though.
other stuff here. There's a lot of connections.
There's only so many mountain-esque things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ahead, a collision. You would then have a near collision with an oncoming bobsled. However, you veer off to the right at the last moment. And this is when somehow you would have went through a rock fall, like or an avalanche here.
Crushed ice.
A little bit of Big Thunder. Yeah.
I don't know if this might have been projection of some kind, even early projection, but projection nonetheless. I can't imagine these things would have fell towards the track. The next scene, you'd go past huge translucent ice cubes. There's a lot going on in this, by the way. Then you would pass through the ice cavern, crossing under another bobsled's path. So this is the near collision scene with the crystals again.
Oh, so it's not an animatronic bobsled or anything.
No, you'd actually pass by again, yeah.
Okay. And this is just... Did you just say this is story 1?
This is the first option.
Wow. Okay.
It gets crazy.
I'm excited.
What's going on?
What was that, Ashley?
I said I feel like cocaine would be required to understand what is going on in this
Wow.
attraction.
Kids, we do not recommend.
I don't endorse it. I'm
right.
so
She's just saying it's literally
But if
an
you
attraction
wanna be-
of white
if you wanna
pile.
be an Imagineer.
Yeah.
And a good one. Anyway, next scene. Bobsleds exit their underground mountain adventure through a waterfall curtain and pop back onto the course. And here you are next. As you arrive back, cheering coaches and team members welcome competitors back. A thumbs up from a man in purple pants.
From 0 to 60.
Yeah, it looks like that too. Or the end of like Radiator Springs races where they congratulate
Yeah.
you. Good race, everybody.
Good trade.
Can we talk about the
What's
on-ride
that
photo?
green
The
thing?
on-ride photo, it's a guy taking a photograph. It is the most ingenious on-ride photo. It's a fake man with a camera.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Wow.
Still better than the Haunted Man.
That's great.
And guests would then re-enter and unload at the secret Swiss facility.
It's so crazy.
Oh, let's talk about the exit. Guests would exit the command center between the coach's office and the paramedic station through a wooden corridor leading into a rock tunnel. Departing the mountain, guests can get a view of the mountain lake and through a covered walkway which leads to the tourism center. This would have been beautiful. Look at this shot.
Yeah.
This green base of this giant mountain. You're walking over this wooden bridge. There's a waterfall. This would have been stunning. This is landscaping that I love World Showcase, but this is landscaping the likes of which World Showcase never received.
Yeah.
No. And it's a shame.
I mean, Canada's close.
Yeah.
The back of Canada.
Yeah, but you don't like walk over a body of water. It's not quite the same.
No.
This is a really grand scale.
It would
This
have
is
been
an
absolutely
e-ticket.
beautiful and peaceful to sort of hide back there.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that was with money. Plan B was if they cut the budget.
That never happens.
What would happen if the budget was cut? Well, number one, the art goes to black and white. That's the first thing that gets cut is the colored pencils.
Sorry, team.
Run out of color.
Our approach is the same. It's just black and white. Let's keep scrolling. Next slide. You still go across a bridge. Next slide. While on a woodland stroll, guests stumble still upon a secret Swiss Olympic bobsled training camp. Again, you still.
That idea?
What was that?
I said, why were they so tied to that idea of a secret Olympic?
I don't know. Maybe the Swiss wanted it.
But it's like late 80s, right? When they're developing this. That's a big time for Olympics.
So the country you're working with would usually have a big say in what the attraction entails. So in the case of Maelstrom, Norway was specific with, like, Disney was like, oh, we want to do Trolls and Vikings. And Norway was like, well, we want to look to our future. We would really like you to do a scene with these new oil rigs we're building.
Put an oil rig
So
in.
that's what happened. Then they have like this fishing village promoting all these food companies at the end. So a lot of these attractions were driven by whatever the country actually wanted, since they were paying a lot of the bill.
Yeah.
And so this was probably a thing the Swiss thought was cute and funny. All right, next slide. We're still in that big queue. There's Galaxy's Edge. Moving on. Cavern with stuff. Guests then leave the cavern through a tunnel. You still go into the space station. to whatever it is. High-tech security area. Same load area. Same everything. All right, so the ride is different. So here we are. We've loaded in. Now things are going to be different. And remember, this is Disneyland Space Mountain. The same ride system. So see the similarities as we go through here. Because here's the first lift hill, and it looks a lot like Space Mountain.
Lift 1.
Yes. Guests enter through Lift 1, a brightly lit high-tech tunnel. Then you would go to Lift Hill 2, which again, a brightly lit tunnel.
It's lit.
Yes.
When did bobsledding get so like high tech and like?
Oh, you just
Right?
wait. Just you wait. Because then once you go out into the mountain, all kinds of crazy things are gonna happen. Number one, we're moving to watercolors or something. I don't know what's happening. We've moved to chalk art.
Bob Ross has taken.
Yes. So exiting the lift, the guests find themselves surrounded by hundreds of bobbing bat eyes.
Oh, I thought those were butterflies for
So
some
did
weird
I.
reason.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, you fly through the Reading Rainbow opening. Take a look. It's in a book.
No, the thing is I can fly twice as high as those butterflies, so
There you go.
they're too high.
And it's fast.
Somebody go explain this to Pete.
Yeah.
So
And
then
Cameron.
this is turning into the third lift hill. On that third lift hill, a swarm of screeching, whirling bats dart around guest heads in the dark.
This is very dark, like in general.
Yeah.
We've cut the lights.
Is Switzerland known for their bats?
Yes.
I don't know.
It's like the Swiss went through like a goth phase.
I want to know if they're known for their weird light up squiggles.
Yeah.
Because that's the next one. There you go.
Oh yeah. I
Whoa!
love
That's-
squiggles.
That's the Loch Ness Monster, isn't it? Isn't that in Switzerland?
That's
Scotland.
Wow.
No, that's Ireland. Oh, it's Ireland.
No, that's Scotland.
Scotland.
Oh, Scotland.
We are the least worldly people I've ever encountered.
I've been to Paris.
Wow.
Form?
I
My
kind
favorite
of
is how
So-
all of the
So basically what you're saying is this budget conscious version, the cocaine really set in.
Yep.
well, the cocaine set in and all the show scenes left.
Yeah, clearly.
So here we have
It's an interpretive dance of a roller coaster.
Here, a tubular waveform weaves back and forth across the track as bright spots in the wave chase towards the bobsleds and produce modulated, continuous tones.
Now is the
Why?
waveform or tubular?
Wait, it gets weirder.
Oh,
Yep.
What?
Bobsleds blast through 5 separate consecutive cones, engulfing guests in brilliant, different colors. Powerful static.
So this is Rock and Roller Coaster.
I think you
I
mean
know I'm
Guardians
not-
of the
What?
Galaxy coaster.
Yeah.
But
Does it launch backwards?
No, it doesn't.
What
Next
is
slide.
Is this the Kubrick version of the ride?
Yeah, this is.
Oh yeah.
right?
Colorful
That's the film
overhead
professor.
bars chase towards the
What in
bobsleds.
the
The
world?
bars
That's
and track
legal.
diverge for a surprise effect, increasing in pitch. Xylophone-like tones add to the effect.
This had to be the boss that give me two versions.
Yeah.
And they really just wanted to do one.
They wanted to do the first one. They're like, how bad can you make the second one? Now, brightly colored rings around the track are successively spaced closer together, and tones increasing in pitch and chase. Lighting enhanced the sensation of speed, so the rings would have got closer together, making it appear as if you're suddenly going faster as you go
I
through them.
love that effect.
And then my personal favorite is this,
Whoa.
where you burst through the 80s.
Whoa.
I had that shirt.
Guests charge into what appears to be a solid wall. Screams, crashing noises, and flying fragments erupt as the bobsleds veer through the wall.
That's when the DMT really kicks in.
This is when you re-enter the facility. This is the end of the ride. You died.
I was gonna say, is the narrative that you got a concussion and then, like,
You just, you crashed and the rest was a dream sequence? Like,
And again, you exit between the coach station, the coach center, coach office, and the paramedic station.
I see no
are they still
photography.
cheering
No,
you
no
when you
photography.
arrive back in?
Wow.
Or no, because I guess not. Because you
What's your
arrived.
question? What's your question?
Are they still cheering you when you come back in?
No, there's no one there.
No, yeah, because
You
you
went
wrecked,
through
I
a
guess.
wall. That's the queue.
You broke
That's the load
through.
area.
You broke.
Yeah.
Now you understand.
So-
the
You
meaning of
failed
life.
this time.
Anyway, the ride ends the same way. Keep going. Ride ends the same way. But in case you didn't like any of those effects in the ride,
Oh, no.
they had backup effects. Keep going. There was this thing. This is several approaching conical spirals of colorful light beams.
I'm also getting like Mario Kart Rainbow.
Yeah.
Rainbow Road, yeah.
vibes, yeah.
There's also this
Oh,
thing.
Tron.
Archways spaced sequentially
Yep.
closer together. Yeah. Then there's also this is like cyberspace mountain. This reminds me of. Undulating beads of light follow along the bobsled on both sides of the track. Then you pass a bunch of erasers. I'm joking. These are just weird
That's
multicolored
what they
panels.
look like.
It's like
They
big
really do look like
erasers.
those little erasers that you would get at school.
Don't worry if this wasn't exciting enough. We could always just have explosions. Or, of course, my personal favorite, the Lightning McQueen ending.
Lightning.
Ka-chow.
Brilliant crackling lightning bolts charge towards the bobsled.
Screaming ka-chow.
Yeah. So, that was all
This
the
cannot
thing.
have been a serious pitch.
What was that?
The second one cannot have been a serious pitch.
It's in the book. I mean, this book was given to people.
I mean, that is the most budget-conscious version I can imagine. It's all in the dark.
Basically just Space Mountain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like rock and roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With some like light up things along the track, and that's it. You got enough budget for some
It's-
cardboard and some spotlights.
It's utterly shocking the difference between the exterior and that interior. Like, there's no connection.
The village is literally like what you think of Swiss culture, and then the ride is the furthest thing from it.
Right.
Like, imagine that existing next to like this quaint Swiss restaurant
Right.
with traditional cuisine. Like, what? What are you doing?
Extreme.
Can we look at there? We had a couple more pieces in that book to look at. Number one, we have a closer look at the bobsleds or rockets, whatever you want to call them. They're definitely the Space Mountain vehicles. If we go to the next slide, you'll see the color options they had in mind, possibly what they would look like. The first one literally just looks like a Space Mountain rocket. Like the lines and everything on the vehicle just look like it. Then there's some really interesting information after that. There is a project team page. So John Hench is on this, by the way. Creative direction by John Hench. Yeah. Who else is on here? I'm sure see if there's any other names we recognize here. Bill
Project
Vaughn's
manager.
on here. What was that?
The project manager took his name off of this document.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, so did the project and facility engineer. I don't know if there's anyone else of notice, of any note on here.
Kitcheneering, that's an interesting term.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to, like, you showed me the first version and I was like, that's buck wild. And then you showed me the second. And somehow it's made the first version seem so plausible.
Like,
maybe that was their
I think
plan.
that was the plan. I think that's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really though?
I wasn't joking about this, but we asked for 2 versions, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's
Next
fair.
up, we've got the project schedule. A schedule they couldn't
Ha,
hit
3
today.
years.
Oh, man. Yep.
And that includes concept development, like from start to finish.
Yeah, so it would have opened in 1992-93. Would have been the idea.
Oh, wow.
There's then a bunch of operational data on the next slide.
Jason, please.
Jason, please.
Gooby, please.
I'll read you some of this. I can actually see some of it. 2,000. How funny is this? 2019 guests per hour would have been the capacity. It's pretty good.
Whoa. That's pretty
The ride would have been 2 minutes and 30 seconds long with a dispatch interval of 20 seconds. A cycle time of 3 minutes and 44 seconds. The track length would have been 3,075 feet long. 2 cars per train. 14 trains, 12 on the track, 1 spare and 1 in cycle. 6 cars, 6 in a car, 12 in a train for guests. What else we got here? Maximum vehicle speed of 44 feet per second, 30 miles per hour. The maximum downslope, 28 degrees. There also would have been some atmosphere entertainment listed on here. Yodelers, Alpine Horn performers, and villagers. They would have had just villagers walking around.
Just
that didn't even
random
make it into
street
Galaxy's Edge.
Bright suns, everybody.
Yeah. And the platform for entertainment would have been 200 square feet. And on the facade of the mountain, there would have been climbers. They were going to do the climbers. As far as the Matterhorn facility, the total height was 192 feet. The weatherproof height was a max of 96 feet. The base diameter, 200 feet. This thing is giant. The ride queue area was a covered 3,832 square feet. Uncovered another 1,184 square feet for a total of 5,016 square feet. The pre-show area took up another 1,458 square feet. And the ride maintenance area, I don't know if that's an 8. Is that big? The maintenance area? That's giant. 8,000 square feet. I don't know if I'm reading that right.
You need a place to put all those cubes and triangles.
Gotta fix them somewhere.
Yeah.
As far as the restaurant facility, that would have been pretty large. 110 seats in the Promenade View, 20 in Town Square, 100 in the Mountain View. So that's 230 seats total. Yeah, pretty big.
It's also interesting. They planned 2 lounges. Am I reading that correctly? A Swiss lounge and a tentative Disney one?
It looks like it, yeah. The tourism building was there. The VIP lounge, Swiss lounge, was 1,000 feet, and another Disney lounge, which would have been 1,500 square feet. The Swiss would have got the smaller lounge.
The Disney lounge, the Disney lounge would have been like the one that Disney could rent out, and the Swiss lounge would have been for the country representatives or whatever. So they built in a lounge that they could rent out, corporate lounge that they could rent out, which makes sense.
I guess I would have thought that it would have just been one lounge that they would share. Am I wrong? Is that not how do the other countries even have lounges?
No, Disney employees shouldn't be going to those lounges. That's not the way those work. I mean, as Disney has taken over pavilions, they've taken ownership of those lounges, but they weren't always. Like the Norway Pavilion Lounge was operated by the companies that were involved in paying for Maelstrom. So, yeah. So that's the Epcot plan, everybody. Everyone seems pretty flabbergasted.
As I mentioned, it's buck wild, and
Or tired.
I thank God it never happened.
Thanks
It's
for being
gorgeous outside. I mean, it's a gorgeous exterior.
It is. It's beautiful.
I mean, I think
would have
it's-
loved to have seen it.
I think it reminds me. I mean, we talked about Everest, in the last show, but like, Everest has a beautiful exterior, and I think we would have that similar effect, especially from a distance. It would have been the new weenie for that whole showcase too. There'd been no way to miss it.
Mhm.
So, that's incredible. But boy, howdy, spies that are Olympic athletes. So, man, that's something.
There you go.
It would have really.
We've done this twice before, and I forgot how weird this was. Like, I remembered the first one. I forgot about the second, abstract, Fantasia-esque second version of the ride.
The Andy Warhol inspired.
It really would have made an amazing Frozen overlay.
Patrick, please leave.
Yeah.
We'd still have Maelstrom.
No.
But
they'd both
with
be frozen.
Frozen the dark ride and Frozen the thrill ride.
We would have figured Jamaican food sold better and completely done a Cool Runnings ride out of it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Ron, why'd you have to make us all so sad?
We could have bought some lucky eggs in the gift shop. It would have been great.
Wow. Anyway, we'll move on.
Sanka.
So this wasn't even the end of attempted plans to bring the Matterhorn to Walt Disney World. In fact, in 1991, the new 10-year plan was created for the Magic Kingdom, and part of the plan included the Matterhorn bobsleds and a large Swiss-style village. The story was confirmed by a tape discovered not long ago that was given to Disney executive and legend Bill Sullivan. The tape was created by the engineering department at Walt Disney World and offered renderings of the project placed over real photographs of the proposed site, which included the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Lagoon and what was then Mickey's Starland. So in 1991, they were even still talking about getting rid of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They already knew they didn't want that ride anymore. They were tired of paying all that maintenance money, I think. And so that and Starling, since Starling was meant to be temporary, were on the chopping block. At another point in time, an unfinished Matterhorn was even proposed as a piece of scenery to look like a movie backdrop along the backlot studio tour at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So that was all the attempts for Walt Disney World. And last but not least, the Matterhorn bobsleds was then planned for Disneyland Paris as an updated replica that would have been placed behind the Fantasyland train station. A tunnel was even built so the attraction would be accessible from Toad Hall and the Storybook Land canal boats, but the ride was never built and the tunnel was removed later. That's a shame.
Huh.
Mm.
Yeah.
They did it to a hall?
Yeah, it's a restaurant. They serve fish and
Yes.
chips.
Why would they take away a tunnel that could have led to potential expansion, even if they didn't want to build Matterhorn?
I don't know that park super well, but I think that's where the Mickey meet and greet ended up. I think it's in what was the tunnel, essentially, under the train station. I don't know that for sure. That's just a guess on my part. But in the end, the Matterhorn was never built anywhere again. Isn't that weird?
It is.
Such a classic. There's
Yeah.
very few of those real classic Disney attractions that never got replicated. I can't really think of any.
I mean, clearly Everest is like this weird
Spiritual
spiritual
thing, yeah.
successor. Yeah. I mean, in theme for sure. But yeah, it's so. I think if Frozen would have come on a little sooner and been that still as popular, it would have happened. But, I think it's too late for this one.
Yeah.
It does make the Disneyland one special, though,
Yeah.
because you legitimately can't find it anywhere else.
Yep.
I mean, the first time I went there in '95, this was the first thing I ran to before Indiana Jones Adventure, which was 2 weeks old at the time. I still ran into Matterhorn first because that's what I grew up not having that I wanted to do.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll go back to Disneyland and talk about changes to the ride that were made in later years. So after the Skyway was closed in late 1994, so the Matterhorn needed to be remodeled. The space previously used by the Skyway became a glacier grotto. They sealed it all in. Yeah. And by then, you got to remember, they already added caverns. When they did the 78 overhaul of the Matterhorn, they added the caverns and stuff. So that's when you got the more intricate-looking interior.
Right.
In 1995, a tribute was added to Frank Wells, the accomplished mountain climber and highly respected president of the Walt Disney Company, who died in a helicopter accident on Easter Sunday, 1994. The Wells Expedition box was added at that time. The ride remained pretty much unchanged until into the 2000s, where the Matterhorn temporarily closed on January 9, 2012 for a 6-month refurbishment. The mountain was renovated by redoing the paint job throughout the outside of the mountain and some repairs on the inside. The vehicles were also changed. It was rumored for decades, it seems like. The vehicles were changed to single-seaters instead of the lap-sitting, with 3 seats in each bobsled with 2 cars linked together for a total of 6 guests, similar to the Florida Space Mountain.
Huh.
The new bobsleds were shown as red, blue, and green, and the Matterhorn reopened with these vehicles on June 15, 2012. We have that video, actually. We were there as it opened. We were among the first people to ever sit in those trains. That was actually the day of the media event. June 15, 2012. That was the rededication of California. You can take the audio down. We'll just talk.
Sorry, people watching. Don't hit cast members. We're not pushing anybody.
I don't know what we're talking about. I remember what's going on. People might have been fighting to get into the line. Wow. So yeah, this is literally, it reopened in the middle of the media event across the Esplanade. They were rededicating California Adventure at that point. There you go. Oh, there I am. I didn't know I was.
You're even average height. Anything front seat needs just get around the knees.
Yeah. We'll keep going over these. Part of the rehab included giving the entire
so
mountain.
Beautiful.
What was that?
Mm-hmm.
I said they're just so beautiful.
The new ones, yeah, they're nice. I miss the tandem seating was special. It felt old, but it probably was time for them to go. It was one of those bittersweet things where it's not one of those changes where we're like mad at them for doing it because we probably understand why it needed to happen. But it was kind of like the passage of time. You lost this thing, like it was and I didn't lie to you. We were in the first couple people. You see, there's only a handful of people in front of us at that point. There I am. Yeah, so the part of the rehab also included giving the entire mountain an exterior facelift for only the second time ever. The first being when the attraction was originally built. So this is the first time they rebuilt the exterior. Was that refurb? And the scaffolding was erected all the way from the base of the mountain to the top. The mountain has essentially been painted over and over again through the years, resulting in a mostly white, snow-covered Matterhorn mountain. But in 2012, the entire mountain was made bare again and carefully painted to be more realistic to what the actual Matterhorn looks like. This meant placing more snow on the northern side and less snow on the southern side of the mountain. For the first time since the Matterhorn's early days, the base of the mountain was mostly snowless. The snow on the mountain surface in the past was merely white paint, but for the refurbishment of the ride, Imagineers mixed glass beads into the paint so that the snow would actually reflect in the sunlight like real snow. Jim Crouch, Walt Disney Imagineer, served as the field art director over the rehab project. And the mountain climbers that used to climb the Matterhorn in the past on any given day returned, at least after this refurbishment, for a short period until they were budget cut away again. Surprise. Not much of the interior ride changed. This was all about getting the new vehicles on the track. And, I forgot the crystals used to be a part of this too. So those really started there, and I guess it was just a carryover, a little tribute to the original they were going to put in the Florida one. The original ride pretty much stayed intact except for the trains, and they fixed up the exterior, but that was the extent of that refurbishment. So then the Matterhorn closed for refurbishment again 3 years later in 2015 to prepare for the 60th anniversary of Disneyland. The attraction would reopen on May 22nd of 2015 with new special effects and updated animatronics. Near the top of the lift hill, a projected image of the Abominable Snowman would be seen through a sheet of ice, and a new scarier animatronic version would appear at the top with improved sound effects to help the illusion of the Abominable Snowman in pursuit of the train as it descends down the mountain. We actually have a short video from Walt Disney Imagineering, which I think does a really great job showing what they did for the Diamond Celebration project. If we could bring it
Here at the Matterhorn, we've added new animatronic snowmen and some other special effects scenes, and we're thinking that this will be a great addition, especially that it's coinciding with the Diamond Celebration at the Disneyland Resort. The original Abominable Snowman here at the Matterhorn appeared in 1978. He was a fairly static figure. We've brought him up to today's look, which is a more protective snowman, one that's protecting his environment. Today's sophisticated audiences, they're expecting more movement and more action and more tension, and that's exactly what we've brought to this snowman. What we've done is we've brought the past into the present with today's technology and our research tools available to us, not just from our history, but from physiology, from anthropology, from the study of other species and primates. That combined with what makes an iconic abominable snowman, we mixed it together, and this is where we ended up.
As you first enter the Matterhorn, on either side of you as you're ascending, you'll see in our very inhospitable environment a snowman that is very defensive, very territorial. Even though you only see him for a glimpse as you ascend the mountain, it sets up the premise of a hostile environment. As Imagineers, we want to be using the latest technology, and we're fortunate to do that on the Matterhorn, but we don't want guests to focus on the technology in and of itself. We want them to be really enveloped in the story and environment and bring the best show that we possibly can.
There's a scene we call the Horde Scene, and this is where our snowman has collected things off the mountain over the years.
In the scene, apparently our snowman has grabbed vehicles from various attractions that have gone through the mountain. So we have a few bobsleds and one of the buckets from the very old 1959 attraction of the Skyway buckets. When we add new magic to our classic attractions, it's really important that we preserve the elements our guests love most. Guests come up to us and say that they like that we made changes to it, but we left it the way it was when they came the first time as a child.
That sentence literally made no sense. You can't do both. Anyway.
I understand what she was trying to say, though. You pay homage to what was there before and plus it. You don't completely rip it out and change it.
She was not
fully
someone who actually did anything on that project. The other people did. She was just put on camera. Anyway. This was a fantastic update. I think this is a model for updating classic attractions. Like, they built Harold. It still looks like Harold, but it's scary modern Harold, and I really like that. And just beyond that, the Lift Hill stuff was good. It's just perfect. And then, of course, just that hodgepodge of references, that mountain of ride vehicles in the middle of the ride. Really fantastic. Love it. Perfect. Amazing project. They weren't done with it just yet. Apparently, people were still uncomfortable in the new vehicles. So in May of 2016, cushions were added to all the seats in the bobsled. Which I think fixed all the problems. It's at least more comfortable than it was. I still can't sit in the second or third seat in a car. My knees get banged up, but otherwise, most people seem to be okay in there now. Some more recent changes. FastPass was added to the ride in April 2017, and the Matterhorn once again closed in July of 2018 for another renovation, this time the redesigning of the queue as part of Project Stardust. The ride reopened on November 16, 2018 with a brand new queue and entrance area. Yeah, it really seems like Disneyland needed that. Lots of people showed up. That is the story of the Matterhorn. So the Matterhorn has existed for 60 years at Disneyland. So I'll ask this question. Usually we ask what's going to happen into the future. Obviously, the Matterhorn was just updated. I can't imagine a scenario where the Walt Disney Company would ever remove the Matterhorn. So I'll ask the question, is the Matterhorn dead as a concept given current management, given, this much time has gone on since the first was built? Do we ever see another Matterhorn, or is that ship officially sailed at this point in time?
That ship has sailed and sunk like the Titanic. It is gone. They might revive some sort of bobsled mountain, but it's going to be tied to Frozen or something else. It's not just going to be a Matterhorn. It will be called something else if they ever try and do another bobsled ride.
Well, they had concept art for a sleigh coaster in Hong Kong. I think that's still in the plans. It's not on a mountain though. It's like it looks like Mine Train basically.
I mean, I think if they were going to have, the concern, of course, is that Disneyland doesn't have a Frozen attraction.
Yeah.
And this is a big old mountain, which is very close to what land again? Yeah, Fantasyland. So it's actually a really nice fit, IP-wise, in that sense. Don't get me wrong, in the sense of where it sits and all of that. It'd be a garbage idea, and they should never do it. I think the time has passed. I don't think that Frozen popularity is where it was. I don't know. How old is the first movie now? 7 years? I don't even know. It feels
6, yeah.
6. And if they would have made waves, I think they've already would have made those waves. So I think it's past its prime for that sort of.
It's a good backdrop for a Frozen area, and you still have that motorboat cruise area that's abandoned. So
yeah,
I think that would be the answer. So that way you have a big snowy peak next to a Frozen ride. I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. Maybe somehow use the back of the mountain, or a spot that we currently cannot see very well, and add a castle or something.
No.
To put it.
No.
Well, no. I mean to use it for its said Frozen
but
ride.
no.
No, I don't want it. I'm just saying what they would do.
Please do not.
I don't know. I think it's one of those rides that I don't think they're going to. I mean, I think they'll keep plussing it a little bit and refurbing it over time, but it's been there for so long. I don't know. I think it may be safe. I say that I don't know. I mean, Chapek is clearly crazy, but if we can get rid of him soon, hopefully, I think overall it's safe. I truly believe that Disneyland fans would riot if they do anything to remove Harold or to take away what is Matterhorn now and add a Frozen castle to the side of it or do anything like that.
I think as a test for a week, they should put a shop in it. And then for the week after, benches.
Help lead the riot.
So just test some things. We'll put Elsa in there. We'll put her in for 7 days. See how it goes.
Well, and a nice epilogue to this, of course, is that Harold is now hanging out as part of the collection at the Guardians Tower.
Yeah, the old Harold is part of the queue at Mission Breakout, yeah. As is Dolores from the Country Bear Jamboree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think that this as a concept is done. I think when you say good ideas never die, that there could be a place for this. I don't think it's in Walt Disney World. I think Walt Disney World is done building mountains, but there's always a chance that
we're done with shade.
Had it.
There's always a chance that this could pop up somewhere. I especially think about some of the parks in Asia that are always expanding, and they seem to like the classic but updating it. I could definitely see this winding up at one of the Asia parks.
Sure.
Possibly.
Yep. Anyone else? Anything? Nope. All right. Well, that's the story. We have completed our journey. You can take it away, McFly.
Whoosh!
I got it. Oh no. What's your ID?
What did you do?
I didn't. Your computer went down on me.
Oh no.
What? What just happened?
But hold on, we have to keep talking about Matterhorn until they're ready. We can't end it like this.
We're done.
There's jam on my carpet. No. Come on. My carpet's been jammed.
That's chicken, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
The whole system's jammed.
What's the strawberry?
It appears we've been jammed, sir. Only one man would dare give me raspberry. Hartman! Oh, no.
It's chicken. It was just chicken.
Just chicken. It looked like jelly. It was dark.
Get your chicken that looks like jelly.
Spot. All right. Well, we did that.
Yeah, now let's play match game.
Match game.
I got the music for that
God.
too.
Who has the game?
Help me.
Who has the matches?
I don't know who has the game. What was that, Jason?
I'm working on getting the game.
All right. No, we're not ready yet.
But we're excited.
Cameron, get the contestants on and introduced.
While Jason's doing that,
I have to stop the streams anyway.
Last time to open the floor for questions, really. This is it.